The reflection room. It started with a dare. The old house on the edge of Greywater Hill had been abandoned since the 1950s. Cracked windows, ivy strangling the brick, and a sagging roof gave it the perfect horror movie look. Kids whispered stories about it, the usual: ghost sightings, cold spots, a woman who walked the halls without eyes. None of it mattered to Jonah, who didn't believe in ghosts. At least not until he stepped inside. He was dared to spend the night in what the locals called the reflection room. It was a parlor, once elegant, now rotting. The legend said the woman who lived there had been obsessed with mirrors. After her husband's disappearance, she sealed every window, hung mirrors on all four walls, and never left. They found her years later, starved, her eyes gouged out, surrounded by her own reflections. So, of course, Jonah went in, just after midnight. The house groaned as he pushed the door open. The smell of mold and something sharp like vinegar and copper hit him. His flashlight flickered. Perfect. He moved through the dust-choked halls, floorboards whining under his boots, until he reached the reflection room. 4 antique mirrors remained, tall and ornate, like grim sentinels. He took a breath and stepped inside. The moment he did, the door slammed behind him. Jonah spun, heart stuttering. He tried the handle. Locked. Okay, he muttered, just old hinges. He set up his sleeping bag in the center of the room. The mirrors reflected him from every angle. He didn't like how they warped his figure slightly, like the glass was too thick or old. He avoided looking directly at them. He sat. The house was silent. Tick, tick, tick. Jonah froze. There was no clock in the room. Tick, tick. It was coming from the mirror behind him. He turned. The reflection didn't match. He was sitting still, but his reflection's hand was moving, drumming fingers on the floor. Nope, he said aloud, standing quickly. The reflection stood too, but too slowly, as if reluctant. He backed toward the door, pulse hammering. Okay, guys, joke's over, he called, voice cracking. He turned to leave. The doorknob was gone. Just flat, smooth wood. He whipped around. Now all 4 reflections were different. One was smiling, wide and unnatural. Another was facing away. The third had no eyes. And the fourth. It was watching him, head tilted, expression blank. Jonah screamed and threw his flashlight at the nearest mirror. It shattered. Darkness swallowed the room except for the flickering pale light from somewhere behind the mirrors. Then came the sound. Wet, dragging footsteps. The broken mirror began to bleed. Thick, tar-like liquid oozed from the cracks, pooling at his feet. A shape was pressing through the remaining mirrors like a body trapped behind the glass, fighting to come through. Jonah backed away until he was against the far wall. The mirror across from him began to hum, a low, guttural resonance. He looked and saw his reflection again. This time, it was smiling too, mouth stretching impossibly wide. Then it mouthed words. Let me in. Jonah shook his head violently. No. No, what the hell? The mirrors shattered all at once, the sound like ice cracking on a lake. Darkness. Utter silence. Then, a hand on his shoulder. Jonah screamed and spun, but there was no one there. When he turned back, there was a mirror again. Just one. Standing in the center of the room. But he wasn't in it. The reflection was the room, yes. Same broken boards, same dust. But it was empty. Then the reflection blinked. It wasn't a reflection. It was a window. And someone or something was now inside the mirror, watching him from the other side. His mouth moved, but he made no sound. The figure in the mirror smiled again. And slowly, so slowly, it reached out and turned out the light. They found the house burned to the ground a week later. No body, no mirrors, just a scorched room with 4 blackened walls and the faint outline of a handprint pressed into soot. They say if you stare too long into an old mirror, you'll see him. The one who took his place. Still screaming silently from the other side.